Thanks a lot for joining us. By the way, I just want to point out, Vodafone Idea is up 6%. That's because of this AGR hearing, which is scheduled, I think, on Monday. So the market's getting a bit excited. That's an F&O ban, so that's why the volumes are slightly low on that. But even Indus Tower is beginning to make a move. That's the correlated stock, of course.
ITI is higher by 6%. I was listening to an Awaaz reporter saying that probably some land monetization may happen.
Okay, so these are few stocks in focus. Sanjay Dutt is joining us, the director at Quantum Securities. Sanjay, good morning. Thanks for joining us. Good having you on the show. How do you approach markets at all-time highs? What's your own portfolio stance right now?
I think stay with the trend unless you have reasons to believe that the trend is turning. If you were to use a broad benchmark, actually Nifty is not a benchmark right now because the rally is so broad-based and spread across mid-caps. But if you were to use a Nifty as a benchmark, I would say if it starts trading below 15,500, 15,400, I would be worried and start lightening up. But like I mentioned last time, we're already around 85, 15, so about 15 in cash, looking for opportunities to buy on a decline. But I think what we're seeing right now is a sector rotation. Sectors which haven't performed, they come up. The others who perform consolidate, correct. So it's like what you're seeing today in some names, what you'll see in the real estate names. They've run up in the short term. They'll consolidate, correct. So this kind of rotation, a typical bull market rotation, will continue. Yeah.
Okay. Sanjay, pleasure having you with us. Thank you so much for joining in. Okay, would you rather now bet on the economy proxies? I mean, the nation seems to be getting its act together in terms of vaccinations. I mean, there is an outside chance of a Lambda or a whatever, Delta Plus, but nevertheless, you think that it's good to bet on growth now?
I'm glad you asked this question, Lata, and I'm in agreement with you that this is the time to bet on some of the totally domestic economy, internal sector folks, internal economy focused companies and sectors. And I would actually take this one step further and say, bet on some of the top 100 or top 50 companies. So the Nifty companies or companies which are in futures and options, you'll see in the last year or two haven't given any returns, are probably at the 19 December or 20 January level still. So it may be a good idea to start looking at those, because you would once again see performance and, numbers started to kick in. Look like something like an HDFC Bank has done nothing in the last year plus, while ICICI Bank and others have done well. Similarly, you will see a Larsen, which has already started moving. Like this, you can find many stocks across even the large caps, because mid caps have, run up quite a bit. So I will not be surprised some amount of large cap rotation starts to begin, and most of the large caps are economy focused large caps, whether they're infra, banking, finance, or focused onto the domestic sector.
Okay, by the way, Wipro is picking up now. So after being flat in early morning trade, Wipro is now up 1.5%, piling on the gains there. And the Nifty, let's not lose sight of that. I mean, we're just 60 points away from sweet 16, right? The 16,000 mark on the Nifty. So it's been moving slow and steady, although today is largely flat. Sanjay, hi, good morning. I wanted your thoughts on the Zomato IPO. It's the last day today. Are you dialing in or staying away?
I'm staying away, but I would at the same time say that it's a good bet to come on. The leader takes it all. Zomato is the leader. It's the first one. It'll always have the edge. I think it's got a fairly robust model. I unfortunately watched this company from 2008 when it was Foodie Bay. Probably some of the first 100 or 1,000 people who logged in, who's got a foodie and menus and delivery options. So I think this model has a lot of potential across verticals to go, like they were talking about hyperlocal and those kind of things. So I would recommend a buy definitely in the IPO if you get an allotment.
But you said stay away. You're staying away.
No, I'm staying away, but I would like to, because people like us don't get much of an allotment in the IPO. That I'm making an application, that I'm getting some, minuscule amount of shares. So we prefer let it list, let the dust settle down, and we'll buy. So as retail investors, definitely, I think one should put in an application and don't just sit for a pop, wait out the story. If it comes down, maybe add more. Spend more time studying it, see how it evolves. But I think it'll be a good story to bet on. It's a really good domestic consumption story, straddling across technology and F&B. So I don't see any reason why it won't do well.
Okay. No, the only worry is whether you're paying too much for it. There's no denying that it's the India consumption story, but we are not even calling earnings. We are 10 to 11 times sales.
Rather frankly, this whole, I've been an old traditional 30-year-old value investor. We got to change with the time. What do you do? Because if you're seeing these kind of things, it's not really an India phenomena, it's a global phenomena.
Yes.
If you buy Amazon earlier, you didn't buy Apple earlier in 2010, 2012, just because you thought it was a 100, 200 multiple, you were left out. So you need to figure out as to why you should be riding these companies. Yes, high risk, high return, but ultimately they're new economy players. There'll be 10 players will be listed, of which 2 will make you big money. 8, you may go wrong. So you just got to make sure you place your bets. I am 100% agreement with you that on valuation, earnings, cash, it's very difficult to really come to terms with the fact that you're investing in a company which is just burning cash. But I think a time will come where these companies will start making money. But which one of these 5 is a big question.
Okay, I just want to revisit that stock that I spoke about, Indus Tower. That's making a bit of a move now. In fact, the whole telecom space is getting a bit excited once again. Sanjay, any thoughts on either Indus Tower or Vodafone Idea or any other stock that you may have tracked, Bharti Airtel?
I think Bharti Airtel is a fabulous company to invest at this point of time. Very well positioned. Also the fact that we will see some big moves in Reliance in the next 6 to 12 months, whether it's a demerger, split or anything, or even otherwise a re-rating of the Jio piece within Reliance itself. I think, and Bharti still continues to be the biggest player and also the only pure play telecom play listed in India, pure play telecom company listed in India. So I'm very positive on Bharti, and on every declines, I'm buying it. I have a position. So I think it's a good investment bet. And also this is one of the companies I've mentioned which hasn't really performed in the last year or two. Plus a lot of sector issues are being sorted out still.
Okay. I wanted your thoughts on some of these evolving themes, which I think investors are still not too comfortable about. The electric vehicle theme, for example. It seems like there is a lot of potential here, whether it's companies that are involved in this whole charging infrastructure, whether it's companies that supply to the whole EV ecosystem, say a JBM Auto, for example, where the management told us that they do everything, from charging infrastructure to delivering the buses, to maintenance, etc. Do you see anything here for long-term investors, or is this a space that you would avoid?
Sonia, I'm glad you touched upon this, and this is a sector which, you have one of the best knowledge in this field and probably better than me also, as far as auto and the auto universe is concerned, ancillaries. I think the next big theme in India is going to be for the next 1 year, the auto ancillaries. The likes of automotive axles, GNA axles, PPAP, Suprajit, all these companies who have integrated, supply chain models. And they're not only just catering to the domestic demand, but actually suppliers worldwide. Once the entire global supply chain now is opening up and things are improving, and we're also betting on economy uptake across the world, there's no reason why, these companies will not do well. And what I understand from some of the ancillary companies, FY23 is going to be very robust. So I'm glad you asked this, because this is one space I've tweeted about and I'm reading about and looking at some of the companies. I really haven't taken a big position in any of these stocks as yet, but I'm pretty excited and would want to buy some of the names that I mentioned when we get a correction. But yes, linked to EV, and in fact, you know better than I do that the ICE is here to stay for the short term. The EV market is going to pick up in the future, but it doesn't mean that the ICE is dead right now. We will still have cars being sold as they stand today, and but evolve to the EV model.
Yeah, but the way petrol prices are rising, maybe it will come faster than we think. I'll pay the capital cost because I don't have a running cost.
We'll have to start cycling then,
Yeah, I wish we could do that in Mumbai. Okay, Sanjay, I wanted to ask you about this old discussion we always have about banks. You know, the second rung of PSU banks. If you get the feeling that most of the large corporate NPAs is out, then is it value for money to go down, not just SBI, but below that?
No, that's a complex question. I don't have a clear answer. Frankly, I'm also as confused. Because a lot of time I have to answer this question that should I be investing in a Karur Vyasa bank or a City Union Bank or a Kathleen Syrian Bank or any of these second or third tier bank like a federal bank? Because you know better than I do, cost of funds, franchise, the liability franchise, the size of balance sheet, the big ticket lending that one can do is now going to be only possible a bigger bank. In fact, the bigger banks are challenging even the retail side of it. If you look at the way SBI is growing its book and the way it's getting technology savvy slowly, yes, it may not be as good as an ICICI bank or maybe a DBS, etc. So therefore, it does worry me as to what exactly are these, $3, $4, $5 billion kind of banks going to do, market cap banks going to do. So I think that consolidation in the years ahead, that's my only bet. What I would buy, I think a high risk trade would be probably, I would go and buy a RBL bank or I would buy a Union Bank because they're pretty attractive right now, have really good, clean balance sheets, everything provided for. What you correctly said that most of the corporate as well as MSME books are kind of provided and we know out in the open. But like I said,
I know we often get asked, and I think I'll be trolled even now for this question, that when there's so much else available, why are you asking this question?
That's why I answered the question by saying I'm confused. If so much else is available, then why should I spend same amount of research time on?
But which part of finance do you like? Because now even brokerages are running. Of course, insurance has been a steady, long-time performer. So what do you recommend in the finance space?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that question. I'm very positive on the mortgage lenders because I think if you are talking about real estate, that's going to be a big theme ahead. So some of the top 5 mortgage names are continuing to make money, and they're also relatively less volatile, less risky. Yeah. In addition to that, some of these good, aggressive gold loan players like a Manappuram, it hasn't done anything for the last year and a half, 2 years. It looks pretty good. So therefore, there are select players which are out there. I've been looking and reading Centrum right now. I haven't done anything there. So, very niche players who've got their own areas to operate in, but very difficult and, a lot of research needs to really, conviction and research needs, like maybe an IFL Finance, IFL Securities, So these are the plays I would like to play as proxies more than banks to the entire financial and the overall uptick in the economy.
Okay, Sanjay, we'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for joining us and speaking to us. It's always fun chatting with you. Hope we get a chance to do it often.
Oftener.
Yes.
I think you rarely come these days.
Okay.